Welcome to another Straight Up Tuesday tip. I'm 𝗤𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁. With me as always is Mark Ainley. And with us for the first time, we have Karen Welch. Karen,
Hi.
welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
We're excited to have you from Moovers Chicago. I don't know how many O's I'm supposed to say in there, how long I'm supposed to hold the moo out. We coincidentally met at 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏 meetup about a month ago. So it was I saw the logo and I was like, hey, are you Karen Welch? We're recording an episode together.
Yeah, for sure. I've been doing a lot of outreach and networking in the community and stuff like that. So it was definitely cool to put a name to or put a face to the name.
Yeah.
Well, you got to check out our list of our other networking groups as well too, so you can keep on your outbound reach and use that at straightupchicagoinvestor.com. I think we got 30 different local meetups on there now.
Nice little
Yeah.
plug there, Mark.
Yep, I got to do something for this show.
For sure.
So Karen works for Moovers Chicago, a white glove moving service. We'll link to all that in the show notes. And today we're going to talk about setting expectations for your tenants on move out day. It's something that I think is overlooked, especially with newer investors. If you don't set expectations, they're going to default to what's the easiest thing for them? Banging, the nice hallway that you just painted, they're going to bang that up. They're going to go at whatever time they want. So setting those expectations. So Karen, can you help us? What are some of those things, if you were a housing provider, that you would say, hey, like this is what I'd be telling my tenants? And maybe what are some of those oh no's you've seen from other moving companies that housing providers should be aware of?
Yeah, definitely. So we always tell our customers and landlords, realtors, make sure that your tenants are getting someone licensed, insured, and make sure you do a little research on the company, before booking. Everything sounds good on the front end, like, oh, well, anybody can say I'm a five-star moving company, and it's like, well, you may be five-star on one platform because you paid for those reviews that are five-star on Yelp or Google, but if they don't have five stars across the board on every platform you're looking at, then there's something kind of iffy there. We always encourage landlords to ask for a COI or certificate of insurance. Just be sure that they are insured because, again, anybody can kind of say, yeah, I'm licensed, I'm insured, I do this, I do that. So it's always good to make sure that they are a legit moving company, that they're registered with the Illinois Commerce Commission. You can actually go on like the Illinois Commerce Commission website, check out any actual licensed and insured company. Not a lot of people are aware, but it is actually illegal to perform moving if you're not licensed and insured with the ICC. So it's always just something to, keep a lookout for. Make sure that you're asking questions like, are you going to put down floor protection? Are you gonna put on railing protection, especially if you have tight stairways, tight hallways? Always ask them, are they gonna wrap the furniture first? What kind of disassembly, reassembly are they looking at? And you kind of want to set up maybe you only want your tenants moving out through the rear of the building because it's a wider stairwell or a wider alley to accommodate larger items. So you want to be careful, especially, in Chicago, I see like a lot of like glass doors or, kind of delicate wood framing and stuff like that. And you want to be careful, and make sure that the moving company is going to put up door protection regardless, if they're doing the move out of the alley, if they're doing it out of the front. Parking is something else to consider too. You don't want to be blocking a fire hydrant, annoy, the alderman's office, anything like that. So if you want them specifically to park in the rear, park on the side. So those are all things to keep in mind, when your tenants are planning on moving in and moving out of a building.
The insurance is the biggest risk I think you have there, because if you have just a helper that comes and he hurts himself and maybe it might go to the workers' comp for that moving company, but if that moving company isn't insured, they might not have workers' comp either. So ultimately that's going to come on your homeowner's insurance. I see larger buildings require that. And is that something you suggest that smaller housing providers do as well too? Like, is that?
I mean, it's always good to be safer than sorrier. So even if you just have like a 2 to 4 unit, it's just better to make sure that everything is done legitly. Your tenant may be saying they're going to save money, on the front end, but on the back end, if somebody gets injured and you're liable for like medical bills, lost time at work and stuff like that, at the end of the day, you're not really saving money, you're actually losing it. And then, if they do any damages to the property as well, anything to stairs, walls, floors, doors, then you're looking at, even more coming out of your pocket. So it's always better to be, safe than sorry up front and just make sure, what you have is legit and safe. And then, at the end of the day, everybody's happier across the
I
board.
like the idea of we do it now with the specific hallway you have to use, because I think I was burned. I made the dumb mistake many times early on in my career of like getting the unit turned over. You paint the whole all hallways, and then the new tenant
Mhm.
moves in and scratches it all up like days after you just painted it, when you're actually just trying to get the place nice and ready for the new tenant. So
Yeah.
having that specific hallway for them to go up, or the one that's wider, or the back one that's all cinder block where there's less risk of drywall damage, like I think that's a great tip.
Yeah, and it's also good, like, when a moving company, we live by our reputation, right? And since we have such a good reputation in the community, the few times there has been, any slight dings or anything like that, we already have somebody lined up to go out and take care of, any slight damage, that way it's not left up to you like, oh, well, here's $100, we're sorry we scratched your wall or something. We actually go the extra mile and make sure, that it's repaired. And, we'll even ask you, do you have any, paint that matches, or, what color did you use or anything like that. Now, what's good is in the past year, the year of 2023, we had less than 1% damage claim in respects to that. So we're very proud of that. And, as a moving company, anybody that takes pride in their work, like a family owned and operated business like us, we just go that extra mile. That's why it's always good to just make sure that you're hiring someone that really cares about what they're doing, basically, that it's not just, you're not another number, you're not another name, just crossing their path, kind of.
Yeah, and I think as a housing provider too, you can kind of spur this a little bit, right? Because they just might be thinking, I'm going to be doing this with my friends, whatever. Especially when you get above, call it workforce housing, you get where there's more expandable income. You can set the tone of like, oh, who are you using to move, right? Like, and oh, I hadn't thought about that. All right, here's a couple names that like you can almost set that expectation, like you should be hiring a company so this goes smooth for you, for me, for everybody. Timing, right? Like one of the hardest things to do is, if especially when the first falls on like a Saturday, if they're going to stay the 31st and you at your release says they can stay till 11 noon, whatever it is, and they're dragging their feet a little and you're hounding them, and the next tenant needs to get in the next morning at 9 a.m. and you got to clean the place, and like just getting every hour you lose is very critical there, and it sucks.
Is there a rule you can't ask your friends to help you move after you're 28 years old or something? I thought
I
there's some
believe that's also
official.
the case, right? Like that's
The beer and pizza doesn't quite cut it after after 28, right? You're like, unless the pizza's covered in
I think
Advil,
it's
then,
when the first guy
like,
gets married. I think that's it. Right. Once someone in the group gets married, it's over. Like you have to just get professional movers.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, you definitely don't want to be responsible for your friends' medical bills or, time off work or anything like that either. Like, sorry you pulled your back, like,
Yeah. How and even from a housing provider, something urgent happens. How long someone's moving out on the first or on the 31st, the 30th, whatever. How much notice do you guys need? They're in the peak time of season when you're busy and you're gonna have a lot of turnovers, you have a lot of moves. Like what is like timing wise that this needs to be set up?
Yeah, I mean, for like any rescheduling or anything, we always ask for at least 3 days notice if, you can give it. But if it's something urgent, I mean, obviously it's happened with us before as well, where something urgent comes up last minute and we have to like, go move the crews around, gets, a different date for the person. It's really hard when, someone who's booked on the 31st says, well, I can't move today, but like, I have to move it to tomorrow or whatever. We basically do all we can to make sure, even though it's like last minute and it sucks, both for us and for them, because we've got to like redo our whole schedule. We try everything that we can to everything that we possibly can to make sure that they have space on the date that they need.
Now, I know you guys help landlords as well too with the new Cook County laws. Like you can't just go throw everyone's stuff on the curb, or throw it out if you think they left. You have to now. I might quote this wrong, but you have to store it for X amount of days.
Mhm.
How is that end up getting bid out by if I got a whole house full of stuff, I got to move it to storage. Is that something that you guys help with as well? Or is that something you're seeing your colleagues help with?
Yeah, so what's great is we do like short-term, long-term storage. So even if you just need to store overnight or for a week, or we have some people with us that have been storing for a year or more. and as many or as little items as you want. So anything from like one sofa to like a whole 5-bedroom house. Now our storage is like a private secured storage. It's just for our customers. So it's not like a public storage where anybody can just walk in and be like, hey, let me rent a unit. You know, it's not like that. So it's secure just for our customers. And what's great is like, as you were mentioning, you know, first to the 31st, what comes to mind with me on peak days, especially, is sometimes one person's lease will end on the 31st and not begin again till the first, and they kind of have no placement for that 24-hour period. And that's where our overnight storage on our trucks comes in handy. Because we do have a lot of people that end one lease, but not in time to begin another. They don't overlap conveniently enough. And it's something that we run into every spring, summer, and fall. We're doing moves in the peak season.
If for Tom, I don't know if you ran into this yet, but we've ran into this recently, and it's happened a handful of times for me and other property managers I know here in the Chicago market. But someone gets arrested and thrown in jail, or somebody ends up dying, and you got to figure out and wait for the family to come by. That it's in the house provider's best interest to have a professional company come in, box it all up, put it away, and kind of shift some of that liability to the moving company, and then go store it for X long, however long you got to do it for. So I know we were talking before the show, and you guys have done some stuff like that. But if you've been doing this long enough, or you have enough units, or maybe whatever it might be, it's going to happen to you, and that might be an option where you're going to have to utilize a service like this.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Karen.
We have dealt with a couple situations. Another situation that happens that's kind of urgent is like fires or floods where people are like, you know, I just need to like get what I can out and I need help like, you know, packing up the stuff that I can and sorting through it. And it definitely helps to have like experienced crews with that because you know, the crews we send out, they're all headed by a foreman. Foreman's in charge of the entire move, but before they even touch anything, they do a walkthrough with the customer and you know, just assess the whole situation before we even start. So that's always helpful too in those scenarios.
Right.
All right, let's wrap here. Mark, I have a Chicago fact for you, and we are obviously sponsored by Moovers Chicago, and we're going to be playing for 𝗬𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗃, and I apologize if I butchered the name, but she was the one who provided the Chicago fact when I went on Facebook and said, "Hey guys, I need some facts." So, Karen, your reward is a little recognition here, and hopefully a $50 gift card. So, Mark, are you ready for this? And Karen, you get to help them out as well.
I'm ready.
All right. Which one of these retail stores had their first store open at 1514 North Welch Street? This space is now occupied by a 𝗬𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗀 restaurant, but which one of these retail stores had their first store open at 1514 Wells? And is it Crate and Barrel, Woolworth, Sears, Montgomery Ward?
Oh boy.
Damn, I would have guessed without you telling me the options Montgomery Ward because that's kind of their neighborhood. But Crate and Barrel threw me off there.
I would have guessed Woolworth, but yeah.
All right, so what are we going with? We need two guesses.
I'm going with Montgomery Ward.
All right,
I
Karen,
would
what are
say
you going
Woolworth.
with?
Woolworth.
Oh, I finally stumped you guys. Crate and Barrel.
Oh my goodness.
It was sneaking into your subconscious there, Mark.
Oh man, it totally threw me off because I could picture. I watched a documentary. My life's boring. I watched a documentary on the startup of Crate and Barrel, and I'm like, I never knew they're from Chicago. So
yeah, I didn't know that either.
Oh man, but Montgomery Ward's right there too. Like that's where their first warehouse was, right up Chicago Avenue, right there. All right, Karen, we definitely appreciate you throwing in the advice for the Chicago fact. It was a good one. You got me. Maybe you should get a reward just for that. So we'll talk about what we do for that. Karen, thank you for coming on. We appreciate your involvement and the feedback you're giving here. Tom, thank you. Listeners, check out our new website, Build Your Team. StraightUpChicagoInvestor.com. We got the Build Your Team, a whole different spread on there. It's a pretty awesome looking place. So StraightUpChicagoInvestor.com, and also check out Build Your Team if you're looking for resources to add to your team for your 2024 investments. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Karen. And listeners, we'll see you Thursday.
Thanks all.
Bye.